Today, we're uncovering part 2 of the power couple paradox, where I'm going to be teaching you particular tools to start using to improve the dynamics you're seeing in your relationship around why communication starts to break down in high-achieving relationships. If you listen to part 1, you now understand why communication starts to break down in high-achieving relationships. If you haven't had a chance to do that, take a moment, go listen to it. It's only 8 or 9 minutes, and it's going to really set the framework up for what we're talking about today. Now, we know after listening to part 1, we're not failing as a couple. We're not incompatible. We're not bad at relationships. We're overloaded, efficient, and operating in performance mode. So today in part 2 of the power couple paradox, we're shifting gears. This episode is about how to improve communication without adding more pressure, more emotional labor, or another thing to, quote, do right. Because the goal is not perfect communication. The actual goal is feeling like you're on the same team again. So go grab yourself a warm drink, definitely get pen and paper, and let's dive in. Welcome to Relationship Reset, Reignite, Reconnect, Rebuild, the podcast for high-achieving couples who want to transform their relationship from surviving to thriving. I'm Katie Russler, a relationship coach and counselor with over 15 years of experience helping busy, overwhelmed couples rebuild connection, trust, and intimacy. If you've been together for years and feel stuck on autopilot, disconnected and frustrated by constant miscommunication, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll explore practical tools, relatable stories, and strategies to help you reignite the spark, rebuild your bond, and create the relationship you've always dreamed of. Because no matter how long you've been together, it's never too late to hit reset. Let's dive in. One of the things I shared recently in the Power Couple Paradox workshop, and I want to bring it here, is that most couples don't need more talking. Well, I feel like we don't talk enough. Actually, you do. You talk a lot. It's just not in the ways that lead to better conversations or healthier conversations. Most couples just need better containers for conversations. Because when everything gets talked about all at once, emotions, logistics, resentment, stress, it becomes overwhelming fast. That's when people start to shut down or snap or avoid each other. So instead of trying harder, we're going to get smarter about how conversations are structured. And this is where things start to feel lighter again in your relationship. Now, I want to explain to you why home becomes one of the hardest places for us to communicate. Here's a reframe that tends to land deeply with my clients. Your home has become a multifunctional environment. It's a workplace, it's a childcare center, it's a logistics hub, a place for rest, a place for connection, a place for conflict. That's a lot for one space to hold. So when couples say, why is it so hard to talk at home? It's because everything is layered on top of everything else. Without clear separation, conversations bleed into each other. That's why a simple question can feel loaded. That's why tone matters more than words. And that's why small things trigger big reactions. The solution isn't avoiding conversations. It's separating the types of conversations that you're having. Now, let's talk about these 2 different frameworks we can start to work within in our homes and with each other. The first one I'd like to call the CHO, or Chief Household Officer framework. This is where you're running a business together, which is your home. Whether you realize it or not, the moment you build a life together, you became co-leaders of a very real operation. Your household requires planning, leadership, systems, delegation, decision-making. That is not romantic, by the way. And that's okay. The problem is when CHO tasks get tangled with emotional issues. For example, forgotten groceries becomes, you don't care. You don't want to make my life easier. Missed tasks become, I can't rely on you. Mental load becomes resentment. When couples don't separate Chief Household Officer work from relationship work, everything feels personal. So the first big shift is this question. Is this a relationship issue or a leadership and management issue? That question alone can de-escalate so many arguments. I like to say, is it love or logistics? And then once you figure that out, here's what I want you to do. Create kind of like a 2-meeting system. This really is a game changer, okay? So listen up. This is where we get very practical. Every couple needs 2 different kinds of meetings. And most couples are trying to squeeze both into one exhausted conversation at the end of the day. That does not work. Let's separate them. So the first one is the relationship meeting, right? My husband and I call it a couples check-in. This is about connection. This meeting is about us, not tasks. This is where you talk about how you're feeling, your stress levels, emotional needs, appreciation, small repairs. Some questions to guide you are, how are we doing lately? What's felt supportive? What's been hard lately? Is there anything we need to clear up? This meeting builds emotional safety before resentment builds. It doesn't have to be long, but it does need to be intentional, like setting it on your calendar and making it a non-negotiable. And when you find yourself getting into logistics talk, you write it down on a piece of paper for the next type of meeting I'm going to tell you about. But this is really about our connection, getting a chance to really share what's going on in our lives and share how we're impacting each other. And it is not a dump fest. If you're going into it, throwing everything at your partner but the kitchen sink, that's called problem stacking. That's not what this is about. This is not your space to just dump on your partner about things you don't like. It is about how can we connect and show each other love more? What are some things we want to do this week to make sure that we've got a moment for us? If both of you are traveling or there's a lot of things on your plate you're juggling, how do we take those micro moments of time to connect, to laugh together? And then, yes, you can share, hey, I'm still holding resentment to this particular thing. But again, is it a love topic or is it logistics? Or have you blended the two? Be really careful with that. So the second meeting I want you having once a week as well, separate from the relationship meeting. It's the chief household officer meeting. So the business meeting, right? It's strictly about business. You talk about schedules, tasks, responsibilities, planning, and even systems that aren't working. And you know what? Depending on the age of your kids, they can be a part of some of these meetings too, right? Some of the things need to be delegated to them, or they need to be aware of what's shifting and schedules for the week, right? As well as the responsibilities that they play in things. This is where efficiency belongs. When couples don't have this meeting, everything leaks into emotional space. When they do have it, there's clarity and tension drops. And this is how you stop feeling like roommates and start feeling like teammates again. The question is, why do these roles get so messy over time? Maybe there was a point where you were able to kind of distinguish between the two, but survival mode has sort of impacted that. Most roles in relationships happen by default, by speed, by who's better at something, by cultural expectations, or by who complained the least. And then they never get revisited. Years later, one partner feels overloaded, the other feels criticized or incompetent, and resentment builds quietly. This is why role audits matter. I know it sounds businessy, but if we take some of the techniques we use in our businesses, our companies that we work at, and apply them to our home, we're going to see much better boundaries around our relationship and our connection. So role audits matter, not to create 50-50 balance, because that's unrealistic, but to create clarity and fairness, because resentment thrives in ambiguity. Now let's talk about the power of separating intent from impact. One of the biggest communication breakthroughs for couples happens when they understand this. Intent and impact are not the same thing. You can intend to be efficient and still come across as cold, right? Like, I'm just trying to get to the point. Well, I feel like you don't care about my feelings. You can intend to help and still feel controlling to your partner. Hey, I'm just trying to teach you a better way to do this. Yeah, I feel like I'm being micromanaged. This is especially true in performance mode, right? So instead of arguing about what you meant, the repair sounds like, that wasn't my intention, but I see how it landed, right? I see how you could perceive it that way. Let me try that again in a different way. What would feel better next time, right? Having some phrases that you kind of go to when you notice that your intent is having a negative impact on your partner because of how they're perceiving it really helps us to feel more prepared. This keeps communication from turning into a power struggle as well. So for this week, I want you to try 15 minutes for connection, ideally 30 minutes, but let's just start with 15, right? And 15 minutes for a CHO or Chief Household Officer meeting. Put them on the calendar because structure reduces stress. When we know it's showing up and we're going to do it, and we are willing to follow through with integrity on it, then our nervous system starts to calm and go, okay, I know I've got a space to bring this up. Hey, I know we have a time we're going to talk about this and create a plan, and it doesn't bleed over into other areas of your life. Another tip I want to give you is to name the mode you're in. If a conversation starts spiraling, pause and say, are we in love or logistics right now? Like, is this a love talk or logistical issue? Being able to ask that question and reflect can completely shift the tone. This is a logistical issue. Okay, do we need to solve it right now, or can we write it down for our next meeting? Sometimes we need to discuss it right then, but then, put on the business hat. We're talking about strategy issues, system problems, right? It's different. And another tip, stop having these conversations when you're depleted. Late nights, end of day exhaustion, hunger, these are terrible times for emotional conversations, right? We all know this. And yet we still do it because we say, I don't have any other time. Choose your timing intentionally. It can be on the afternoon on a Saturday or Sunday. Yeah, the kids might be around, but maybe you say, hey, we're going to hire a babysitter for this 1 hour block of time, or we're going to make sure that they've got a play date, or they're old enough and we can go for a walk and have these discussions. When you choose the time intentionally, that alone improves communication dramatically because you're picking the time of day that's really best for you as a couple. Now, I do work with couples where one of them is gone a lot for work. So, video chat, sit down, get your pen and paper, and have these business discussions that way. And then another day of the week, sit down and have the romantic connection time. When I used to work with military families, specifically the Navy, in which the partner was out to sea for months, like 9 to 12 months, we would talk about how can we still find times for the two of you to connect in a way that feels authentic, but is creative, because it's very different than when you're next to each other or even able to talk every day. So let's go back to your homework for this week. This is important. Have one of each of these meetings, right? You're going to have your relationship meeting. You're going to be sharing your appreciation for each other and maybe even check in. How are we really doing? What are ways I could better support you in the coming week? Then have a separate, not right after each other, chief household officer meeting. List the responsibilities for the week. Decide who's leading what. Identify one system to improve. I really love having a notebook for this or even a doc on my computer and making sure our calendar is pulled up and we rotate who leads it that week so that it doesn't feel like it's always on one person's shoulders. Your one goal in having these meetings is to notice how different these conversations feel when they're separated. They do not need to go perfectly. You just need to be aware of the difference in how you feel. Maybe it doesn't feel good to have a CHO meeting because it feels too cold and businessy, because that's the piece of you that's been throwing in, I want to have this deeper love connection as we're running our home. That's two different boxes though. And if as you're having your relationship meeting, that couples check-in, that feels uncomfortable, that shows you there's been a drought and you need to start drinking some cold water, right? Like take the time to prioritize those meetings because it's clear your nervous system or how you feel your brain is like, ooh, this is uncomfortable because we haven't done this in a while. There's also the fear we're just going to fight the whole time. So if you find that you're a little bit nervous about having that couples check-in because you're not sure what to talk about, I want you to reach out to me at info@katierussler.com or find me on social media. You can find all the links in the show notes and say, hey, I need some help with this relationship meeting. I have a great template that I give to my clients to be able to know how to have these meetings. Okay, if part 1 and part 2 resonated, here's what I want you to hear. You don't need to communicate more, okay? You need to communicate more intentionally. And when you do, things will soften. Misunderstandings will repair faster. Loneliness will fade and teamwork will return. And if you want some support in how to have more conversations about your relationship, building that part of that connection, grab my couples visioning workbook in the show notes. I have revamped it this year to have so many great tools for couples to really say what's working, what's not, what do we want to go differently in this new year, and how do we want to approach our relationship so we build that legacy marriage. Okay, dear listener, it has been such a pleasure to be a podcast that you listen to support your relationship. Thank you for taking the time to listen each week and to learn tools to improve your relationship. Make sure you grab the Couples Visioning Workbook in the show notes, and I'll see you in 2026. Thanks for tuning in to Relationship Reset. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend who might need it too. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast. It helps more couples discover these tools to rebuild their connection too. And be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. It's gonna be a good one. Your relationship is worth the work, and the rewards, totally worth the effort. See you next week.